What's up everyone, Laz here with EveOnline.com, and as a fleet commander in Eve Online, I get asked a lot of questions. Top question is going to have to be, FC, can I bring my Drake? But we don't care about that question. This question, number 2 on the list, is going to be, FC, how can I help? And today's how-to video, Probing Interdictors, is how we're going to answer that question. In Eve's current state, probing interdictors are super important for being able to bounce around the grid and tackle stuff for the FC without the FC having to fleet warp the entire fleet. When the fleet warp changes come out with the Fuzzy Sav, it's going to turn fleet probing interdictors into something that's useful, into something that's imperative. With the fleet warp changes, the FC will no longer be able to slingshot dictors around using his own probe results. Dictors will have to warp themselves to probe results that are fitted to their proper dictor. So moving on, guys, we're going to go ahead and start talking about the 4 interdictors in Eve Online. There's one for each race, and we're going to go through them from the best interdictor for this tactic to the worst. First up is the Heretic, guys. It is the cheapest of the 4 interdictors, which is super awesome for this. Fleet interdictors have a life expectancy of probably about 1%. I mean, they're going to die a lot, and you should go ahead and get used to it. In the high slots for the Heretic, we will be using the expanded probe launcher, the interdiction sphere launcher, typically referred to as the bubble launcher, and prototype cloaking device. In the mids, we have a 5MN Y-T micro warp drive and 2 medium FSS shield extenders. For the lows, every single slot is going to be filled with the coprocessor Tech 2. Last, the rig slots will be taken up with a processor overclocking unit for extra CPU and an anti-EM screen reinforcer for 30% EM resist buff. Next up is the Sabre. It is slightly more expensive than the Heretic, but it is 100 ms faster than the Heretic. That is a big thing when you're trying to burn through the grid and get more bubbles dropped. High slots continue the same trend of expanded probe launcher, the interdiction sphere launcher, prototype cloaking device. Mid slots, 5MN Y-T micro warp drive and a single medium FSS shield extender. Low slots are 2 coprocessors Tech 2, and then both rig slots are processor overclocking units to make everything fit. Third up is the Eris. It sports less effective points than both the Heretic and the Sabre. It also is more expensive than them both. It keeps the pattern of the high slots that we were talking about earlier, prototype cloaking device, expanded probe launcher, and interdiction sphere launcher. In the mids, we get the 5MN Y-T micro warp drive, and it's going to be a little bit different here. We're going to go with a Tech 2 medium shield extender. In the lows, we're going to go 4 coprocessors Tech 2, and the rigs are going to be a processor overclocking unit and a anti-EM screen for the shield resist. Next up is the last of the 4 interdictors. It is also the worst of the 4 interdictors for this tactic. The reason for it is that at the time of the recording of this video, it was 10 million ISK more expensive than all 3 other interdictors, and it is the Flycatcher. It is the Caldari interdictor. That is a big deal for these interdictors because they will die a lot, like I said earlier, so make sure you go cheap. Cheap. The high slots are still prototype cloak, expanded probe launcher, and interdiction sphere launcher. Mids, 5MN Y-T micro warp drive and dual medium FSS shield extenders. Lows will be a single coprocessor Tech 2, and then both rig slots will be a processor overclocking unit. Now let me tell you how to use your newly fit probing interdictor. Once you jump into the system that your fleet will be fighting in, you'll want to drop your combat scanner probes immediately. You'll want to make sure you drop them from the scanner UI window, that way you can launch them in pinpoint formation. And you want to do this early because that way you don't have to launch them once you're in grid trying to cloak and stay safe. If you don't know how to probe, we'll be covering that in a later how-to video, so make sure you stick around for that and subscribe to the channel and watch for it. As soon as your fleet lands on grid for the fight, you'll want to immediately start burning away from the fleets and all the hostiles. You want to run an up, down, left, right. You want to go in various directions from the other fleet members. You want to get to a point 250 kilometers to 300 kilometers away to a perch and cloak at that location. From there, you can position your probes and go ahead and do scanning, and that way you're ready to go at a moment's notice. In the short clip, you're going to see now my dictor landed on the grid in the middle of 2 hostile fleets. I immediately start burning away from the hostile fleets towards a Celestial. The reason I burn for a Celestial is because there's so many hostiles on grid, I don't want to get locked up and die instantly. So I'm going to burn towards the Celestial till I'm about 115 kilometers away from the groups, and then I'll turn my trajectory up. And I'm going to go straight up, that way I have a better field of view and able to warp to more locations with my probe results. Once I hit a good point above the grid, I'll go ahead and cloak and get ready for the execution. In the next video clip that's coming up, it is the same fight you just saw, except Black Legion has dropped the red knots on the objective grid, and it's forcing Brave to go ahead and flee the field to go to the objective and defend their assets versus the Capitals. So you have Black Legion stuck inside their bubbles, burning out towards the edge. In my perch with my interdictor, I am currently scanning for probe results so that I can warp to these Black Legion legions as soon as the bubble goes down. I make a critical error here where they change their trajectory and start approaching my perch location. This causes me to warp to my probe result and land 10 to 20 kilometers behind their fleet. I'm still able to bubble half of their fleet and slow them down, but it could have been a much better run. It's something that you will need to watch out for and practice as you use this tactic over and over again. So you see, I do die instantly. As I said earlier, these things die a lot. Just be prepared to go ahead and buy a stack of 10 to 20 of these dictors before you start using them. If you have any questions about this tactics or interdictors in general, make sure you drop a comment down below in the comments section. Then after you're done with that, hit the like button and subscribe button for our channel. We'll be doing a lot more how-to videos for Eve Online and also other games. So make sure you stay tuned. And I am Laz. This is thematani.com, and we'll see you later.